Nikolich on your left. AJ Kerrigan is on your right. And you mentioned how Death Shadow has fallen off. We did our metagame breakdown. One copy of Death Shadow in day 2, and
how
it's
the
AJ.
mighty have fallen.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Death Shadow had the real stranglehold on Modern all of last year with that Grixis Death Shadow deck, and it is gone now.
People just clamoring for a, a ban of the card Death Shadow. It's like, I got to deal myself like 10 damage or whatever to make it viable. Like,
You got to work to make that card good.
Yeah.
It wasn't that hard.
I mean, it is very good.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. I've played with that card quite a bit.
AJ Kerrigan can go down to at least 19, probably 17 via the Verdant Catacombs. He even started things off with the Mishra's Bauble.
It's pretty dangerous to play with the card Mishra's Bauble. I don't know about you, but I'm about 60% to miss my trigger.
I'm much higher. I'll never play it. There's no chance I'll remember it. It's not going to happen. Let's see what AJ wants to do on this turn. Maybe a Thoughtseize or an Inquisition, and it will be a Thoughtseize, so he's going to fall down to 15. Take a look here at Nikolich's hand. It's a Fairy. It looks like a Search for Escanta, Cryptic Command, and I believe a Snapcaster Mage, along with a couple of lands here, an Island, and 2 copies of Scalding Tarn. AJ will write down that information, and I'll let you know the other matchups here very quickly. Jonathan Sukenik playing Grixis Delver Legacy against Luke Purcell playing Miracles. And then in Standard, it's our 2 most played decks. Abraham Stein playing White-Black Aggro against Adonis Medrano playing Blue-White Control.
Something that's notably absent from Nikolich's hand right now is cheap interaction. Search for Escanta, Snapcaster Mage, these aren't cards that are going to affect what AJ Kerrigan is doing in the first few turns. And he's going to need to draw something like a Lightning Bolt or a Path to Exile to make Snapcaster Mage actually good. That said, cards that cost 4 and 5 mana, traditionally not great against Death Shadow. So taking something like Snapcaster Mage is probably the right play.
Snapcaster Mage in the graveyard. AJ did remember his Mishra's Bauble trigger, and we're going to head back over to AJ after Nikolich, of course, plays a Scalding Tarn.
The old Tarmogoyf Pumper, Tarfire, showing up in AJ Kerrigan's hand.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, it is a great card for trying to turn on a Delirium or also just to pump Tarmogoyf.
We got ourselves a 4/5 Tarmogoyf. Now creature, artifact, land, and sorcery.
I wish I could go back and see if AJ forgot the draw trigger. It seems like he has very few cards in
No,
hand.
he got it. I watched it.
Okay.
Tarmogoyf a 4/5.
It's going to change pretty quickly if he just wants to go Tarfire to the Dome next turn.
Oof.
This blue-white control deck doesn't have a ton of creatures in it. So that's going to be a 6-power Tarmogoyf.
That's a quick clock.
Oh, for sure. 3 turns basically because Nikolich's mana base is full of fetch land, so he's going to have to deal himself at least 1 more point of damage, probably more.
This game could be over as soon as turn 5, though I do find that to be a little bit unlikely.
There are 2 copies of Temur Battle Rage in AJ's deck, so there is a chance that he just combo kills Benjamin out of nowhere if he puts his shields down for a turn.
Here is Search for Escanta.
This will not be that turn.
AJ will draw.
I really miss the old versions of Death Shadow that had Temur Battle Rage alongside Become Immense.
Yeah.
Those were fun games sometimes.
You could die on turn 2.
Oh, yeah.
You could die on turn 2, depending on what the draw looked like. That was a scary deck back then, man. That was a scary deck.
I once watched Brad on camera against Dylan Donegan.
Oh, yeah.
Keep a no-lander on the play, but he had like 2 Street Wraiths and a Scribe, and he killed him on turn 2.
That's right. That's right. Easy does it.
That's insane. All right, so Tarfire sends Nikolich down to 17. Tarmogoyf up to 6 power, crashing in. That should drop him all the way down to 11.
Yeah, this is a pretty good start, even on another discard spell too. And he actually targeted himself with a Tarfire.
Nice.
How about that?
Okay. No, he's just trying to make a gigantic Death Shadow this turn. Notably, the Tarfire also gives AJ Delirium, which I believe he was lacking. He just had the sorcery, artifact, and lands. So now Traverse going to go get Death Shadow.
I like it.
Me too. He's threatening lethal on turn 4. If Nikolich doesn't have Path to Exile here, he's going to be in some trouble. He didn't have it last turn. Search for Ascanta, taking a peek. Looked like a Serum Vision to me.
I'm not sure if he can keep that. This is what makes Death Shadow scary. And this is the forms, we saw previous with Jund and Grixis and 4-color here now from AJ, is it can really put a lot of pressure on very, very quickly. Sees a lot of cards because of Street Wraith and Bobble. It's a pretty powerful deck because there's a Flooded Strand. Nikolich is going to sit, but maybe. He's thinking about sacrificing that Flooded Strand. That's a Plains. See our live totals here. Nikolich at 13, Kerrigan at 8.
Notably, both these creatures not susceptible to a burn spell of any sort. Path to Exile or bust at this point, I believe.
Serum Visions draw a card. Scry not 1, but 2. Logic Knot and Serum Visions. Yeah, Nikolich is not wasting any time. Put those in the bottom. Maybe try again with the Serum Visions. Yes. Draw. Lightning Helix. So no.
Wow. I guess it's technically 1 short of lethal at the moment, but all AJ has to do is 1 damage to himself.
Not that hard for old Death Shadow to do.
Nah, but also just making Nikolich go down to 1 life actually just shuts off all of his shock lands and fetch lands, though. It's not even that bad.
Here's Thoughtseize. Well,
that'll do.
We're all set. AJ Kerrigan's going to gain number 1 here pretty easily over Benjamin Nikolich. 4-color Death Shadow stomps all over Jeskai Control. Nikolich is going to have to put up a much better fight than that if he's going to want to win this match for him and his team. You see Purcell, Sukenik, Medrano, and Stein. They are all still working on some other games here. We'll get that scoreboard updated for you when we can. But first, a few messages from our sponsors. are back. Senator Phillips, Todd Anderson. We are here in the booth in Baltimore. SCG Baltimore, hashtag SCG Tour, at SCG Tour, hashtag SCGBALT. For your tweets all weekend long, join the conversation as we prepare to watch game number 2 here between Nikolich and Kerrigan. Kerrigan won game number 1 in pretty simple fashion, so we take a look at Benjamin's sideboard of 2 Dispels, 2 Vanillion Clicks, 2 Damping Spheres, 2 Celestial Purge, a Baneslayer Angel, and Elspeth's Sun's Champion. Settle the Wreckage, Wear and Tear, Negate, Engineer Explosives, Rude Halo. Todd, what do you like against Death Shadow?
So both sides, I think, are going to dig their heels in and play, know that the game's going to go longer, so they're going to try to play a longer game. Vendilion Click is particularly good against Death Shadow, sometimes able to just kill them out of nowhere because they dealt themselves too much damage. A flash 3-power creature is pretty good in that spot. Taking away the removal spell because they don't have that many left after sideboard for the most part. I also like Celestial Purge. I think Baneslayer Angel might be pretty good. Elspeth's Sun Champion is okay but expensive. And falls to Stubborn Denial, but since the game's going to go longer, I don't think it's that bad. I wouldn't even mind Settle the Wreckage. Injure Explosives is also okay.
We're going to go over to AJ's now, who's got 3 Stubborn Denials, 2 Collective Brutality, 2 Lightning Bolt, 2 Engineered Explosives, Liliana Last Hope, Magus of the Moon, Temur Battle Rage Dismember, Ancient Grudge, and Anger of the Gods. A little of this, a little of that. Probably Stubborn Denial the best of the bunch?
Oh, yeah. Stubborn Denial is definitely coming in. It's for control and combo decks specifically. You're going to be wanting to trim most of your cards like Fatal Push and such and replacing them with stubs. I don't really like the Brutalities or Bolts or Explosives. It's not quite a coin flip. I think it's under a coin flip on whether or not it comes in as an answer to Rest in Peace, which is particularly problematic for this version of Death Shadow because it shuts off Tarmogoyf and Traverse the Ulvenwald. Aside from that, though, Liliana Last Hope is okay, but, just grinding creatures through stuff like Supreme Verdict, etc. I don't like Magus. I think Temur Battle Rages can come out, so I don't want the third one for sure. That's about it.
All right, well, those are the options there for both players. They will shuffle up. Get ready here for game number 2. No one's finished anything else just yet, it looks like, between Sukenik and Purcell and Stein and Medrano. But this is a pretty good representation of what's been going on here this weekend. We did a metagame breakdown for you at the beginning of the round, and we looked at Legacy, and we saw like Grixis Delver 5 copies, Miracles 4. Well, you see what Sukenik and Purcell are playing. We did a standard metagame breakdown, and we saw that White-Black Aggro 7 copies, Blue-White Control 4. Well, we see what Stein and Medrano are playing. However, for Kerrigan and Nikolich, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, in 4-color Shadow and Jeskai Control. That's not Human's Affinity or Black-Red Hollow one, but it kind of shows with Modern, you can kind of do whatever you want to do and be successful, Todd.
Yeah, as long as you are a master of your archetype or you just have, countless hours playing the same deck over and over. Most Modern decks are inherently powerful. That's kind of the nature of the format. Every deck is built around some really great synergy or some very busted interaction. And in those scenarios, your deck is always going to be in hyperdrive if you have the right draw and can win against basically any other deck.
We got Adonis Medrano. He won game number 1 there over Abraham Stein. Blue-White Control able to go up a game over the very popular White-Black Aggro deck. Currently, even though it's early in the standard metagame, starting to define things a little bit.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we have 3 decks, I think, clearly on top with White-Black Aggro, Blue-White Control, and Mono-Red. There are variations on all 3 of those decks. We've seen quite a few History of Benalia decks yesterday. Not all of them were White-Black. I think there's kind of the hybridization between Blue-White Control and the White-Black deck that we saw Brendan DeCandio playing. And then even the Mono-Red deck has some variation. We have the God Pharaoh's Gift version if you want to go that route. The Red-Black Aggro version popularized by Jerry Thompson. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do in the standard format. It's not really fleshed out yet, but we're starting to see a more clear picture.
Yeah, this format feels far from solved in standard.
Except Temur Dinosaurs is the best deck.
Yes. Number 1 with a bullet, by far. You laugh, but it was impressive yesterday.
Oh, I'm not joking.
Yeah, it was. I was actually rather impressed with that deck yesterday, where I did not expect to be.
Go buy your Regisaur Alphas right now.
That's right.
You know where you can buy those Regisaur Alphas?
I have no clue.
StarCgames.com.
.com.
StarCgames.net. It's
Brun.
.com.
Steve Benson start here for Nikolich. We'll see where Kerrigan wants to go.
Seems like he's consulting with one of his teammates right now. Another wonderful aspect of team tournaments. You're there with your friends. If you have a troublesome turn, normally you're stuck in your own head trying to figure out. But, this time you got 2 other guys just as bad as you are helping you make the worst play.
Here's a Mirror Shows Bobble. He's going to take a look at this top card, will AJ.
One of my favorite things about team tournaments, and by favorite I mean least favorite, is the guy who leans over on turn 1, just like, which one of these do I play? It's like, it's your deck.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
You should know this by now. It's turn 1.
Not sure what to do. Here is Thoughtseize.
What do you think? Thoughtseize or Inquisition of Kozilek? Just pick one.
That's
Just flip a coin.
roll a die. Doesn't matter to me. Settle the Wreckage, Path to Exile, Lightning Bolt, Logic Knot, Sulfur Falls. That's the hand.
No white mana.
Noted.
Not yet.
Nikolich on a mulligan there, you can see. And now the discard spells can start picking things apart.
Yeah, I think here if I'm AJ, it's basically a choice between Path to Exile or Logic Knot. Logic Knot being a card that can be cast without the white mana. But Path to Exile, you know, you have to assume your opponent got a Scry. He has a bunch of white sources in his deck. He's going to draw one at some point, and the Path to Exile is going to be good.
Mm-hmm. Settle the Wreckage much further away from. But he might just be eyeing up that Logic Knot. Say, you know what? We can just take care of this. I'll work my way through a path. You see Abraham Stein chatting it up there with AJ Kerrigan. Sukenik deep in the tank there. So it looks like he and Purcell are in a lengthy game number 1 right now.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of happens when you have two fair decks kind of battling out in Legacy, especially in a team tournament where you might have a tough decision. You have to wait for your teammate to, like, finish their play, then consult, you know.
Beware Sukenik on Magic Online. Watchwolf 92.
He is good.
Never beaten him.
I have played against him in real life like 5 times in the last few years, and I believe I won once.
He's a tough one.
It was a good one, though. It was the Season 1 Invitational last year.
That was a good time to win.
It was.
He's very, very, very good Magic player, is Jonathan Sukenik. As here is a Street Wraith that'll be cycled here by AJ Kerrigan to draw a card. Nikolich, of course, peeling a search for his Kanta, which he may have scried to the top.
Yeah, I was going to say I missed his scribe, but I got to assume that it's on top just because of how quickly he played it without wanting to hold up the Logic Knot for one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a prime time here for AJ to play a Tarmogoyf if he has it. Does have Delirium, it looks like, though, so he actually could fetch down to under 13 here and then traverse the Ulfenwald for Death Shadow and cast it.
Yeah, it looks like Artifact, Sorcery, Creature, and Land in the graveyard.
Yep. Whenever you draw Mishra's Bauble or Street Wraith, it makes Delirium a bit easier.
Here is Grim Flaya. As Kerrigan will pass the turn back over to Nikolich. Nikolich is going to put a search for his content in the graveyard from the trigger and draw a new card.
That makes Tarmogoyf a little bit bigger.
It does. The problem here for Nikolich, however, is still without any white mana. Spirewolf Canal, Steam Fence, and Sulfur Falls are the lands he has on the battlefield right now as we go back over to AJ Kerrigan, who's picked up another copy of Grim Flaya.
I got to say, Lightning Bolt has looked embarrassing this matchup.
Not a great matchup for Lightning Bolt.
No. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Lightning Bolt fell out of favor as a removal spell in Modern for so long, because Death Shadow and the creatures that go along with it just didn't die to it. You know, people had to find removal. Like, people started playing Journey to Nowhere in their Jeskai decks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that just happened. Like, you have to be able to kill Garmag Angler and Death Shadow.
As players, however, as players made that move, that's part of the reason humans got so good.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, once Lightning Bolt kind of fell out of favor, you know, you had a bunch of weenie creature decks, for lack of a better term, really start coming out of the woodworks and putting up strong numbers.
Now we've kind of made the shift back a little bit, but Human still continues to dominate. As we have an update on the top shelf there, Jonathan Sukenik, Watchwolf on Magic Online. He's a dangerous one.
It's unbeatable.
Grixis Delver does win game number 1 there over Luke Purcell playing Miracles.
Pretty sure he's 11-0 or whatever, you know. He's undefeated.
No proof of him losing ever. See how Kerrigan wants to follow up here. He'll go with another copy of Grim Flayer. That'll be hit by a Logic Knot, which he knew Nikolich had.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of running it into it. He tanked for a while. He could try to wait to find another discard spell to take the Logic Knot, but I don't think that that's a winning proposition. Nikolich is pretty low on cards from the mulligan. Search for his content hasn't actually generated a card yet. It also hasn't found him white mana yet.
Elspeth Sun's Champion, that's going to go to the graveyard from Search for his content. Good place for that as we head back over to AJ Kerrigan.
Now that the Logic Knot's gone, AJ, any creature he draws now will be able to be cast without fear of getting hit by that Logic Knot. So that is another reason why you should sometimes play your threats into counter spells, because it unlocks future threats you may draw.
Yeah, it's never bad, you know, sometimes just to get past. I like to call it getting past that stage of the game. Like, let me finally exchange something with this logic knot and open up the rest of the stuff I can do, as you mentioned. And hey, Grim Flare would have been great if it resolved. There's already one on the battlefield causing havoc, but the chances of that were very low. AJ gets past that point in the game, and now maybe he's found another one or a Tarmogoyf for Traverse for Death Shadow. Who knows?
Just want to point out how insanely similar the art on all three of those different blue-red dual lands looks, and 2 of them are foreign. It's just not. Just come on, man.
There's a lot going on over there. That's Spirebluff Canal, Steam Vents, and Sulphur Falls.
Look, I'll be the first guy to play a Spanish Snapcaster Mage, but not when all the arts look exactly the same.
They do look very similar.
Like, Steam Vents is the one that looks the most different, I guess. But still. Split down the middle, blue and red. Some fire in there, some water in there, probably some steam. Classic.
Gonna cycle a Street Wraith, Will Kerrigan. And now here's a Death Shadow. I believe AJ should be down to 9. And now here's another copy of Death Shadow.
Yep. His Death Shadows here are 4/4s. He, at any point, can shock himself down to 6, making them 7/7s, which is threatening lethal. Benjamin Nikolich desperately needs a Mystic Gate to cast that Settle the Wreckage. But, I don't. Is he even in his deck?
I'm checking. I'm checking.
My guess is no.
Your guess is accurate.
I think that's the second time I've brought up Mystic Gate being a necessary draw step.
Not a card that you can play a lot of in blue, white, or Jeskai, but
no.
it seems like maybe one could be good. Would have gotten some players out of some trouble here.
I mean, the problem with Settle the Wreckage in this spot specifically is that AJ knows about it.
Yep.
So, he could just attack with one giant Death Shadow, and that still forces Nikolich's hand to cast it. So it basically just becomes a 4-mana Path to Exile. That's not exactly ideal. When you're working with perfect information from the Death Shadow side, you don't have to run into these cards like Settle the Wreckage, which ultimately makes their value decrease pretty significantly.
Yeah, as good as a card as Settle the Wreckage is, it does get a little bit worse when the opponent does know. You'd prefer to just top deck that one out of nowhere.
That was a good one.
Engineer Explosives is not bad at all.
That was a good one.
That'll clear up not 1, but 2 copies of Death Shadow.
I mean, to be fair, from AJ's side, Engineer Explosive is the only card in that scenario that punishes him for playing the second Death Shadow. But at the same time, that is brutal. He goes from a 1-turn clock back down to a 3-turn clock.
Kerrigan will untap. And he will draw. We'll see what AJ wants to do to maybe overcome this. Now he picked up a copy of Watery Grave.
I couldn't let him cast a Future Stubborn Denial. It's not a bad draw.
The shadows are down via explosives.
I believe he also knew about the Watery Grave on top from the Grim Flare trigger next turn. It looks like he's putting this Flare trigger on the stack and then fetching here.
Maybe see a couple different ones now.
He does need to be careful with his life total overall. The only way Nikolich is going to get out of this mess is if he's able to go like bolt, bolt, snap, bolt.
Kerrigan is in a very good spot right now, but I agree with you. It's just a Grim Flare trigger. Tarmogoyf among the cards AJ Kerrigan is looking at. Doesn't want to get too wild with his life total, though. He is at 9 already.
It's one of the coolest things about the Death Shadow deck, in my opinion, is the fact of how insane amount of damage it can do to itself in the first couple of turns.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, Liliana. Okay.
Yeah, so AJ can be a little greedy here. He knows that Nikolich has a Bolt in hand. He can minus, get back Death Shadow, shock Watery Grave, and play it to threaten lethal next turn. And Nikolich has 2 looks at finding the next Lightning Bolt.
So this is a little scary, yeah, because if he does shock himself, he brings himself down to 6 to play a Death Shadow, which will be threatening lethal. But, if there's Bolt Bolts or Bolt Snap Bolts, if a land and a Snapcaster Mage, something like that, it could happen.
No guts, no glory.
Oh.
I mean, giving him the freebie probably not the best idea. So I'm fine with the conservative play. You have a 4/4 that doesn't die to the bolt, 2-turn clock, a planeswalker. You're fine.
All right, Cryptic Command going to go away. Azcanta will transform. And now Serum Visions will be played.
I love that he just like tapped his Serum Visions like, hello, fellow Magic player next to me who's on my team. Should I cast the Serum Visions when I have nothing else to do?
Yes.
I mean, I guess he could activate Search for Azcanta. You know.
Could bluff a Cryptic Command.
Yeah.
Couple of options over here for Nikolich, but he's been in trouble this whole match thus far. Has Benjamin. He's been attacked with large creatures. Discard has ripped apart his hand, and he's had some color issues as well. It's been a tough road to hoe. So we head back over to AJ Kerrigan.
Not really sure. AJ kind of has most of the things he needs to close out the game. He would very much like something like a Stubborn Denial or an Inquisition of Kozilek to at least give himself a sense of safety. But, I mean, you know, he has a Planeswalker on the battlefield. He has a Grim Flayer. A bunch of creatures in hand. I believe he has a Death Shadow and a Tarmogoyf.
I think he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, but the game can just end. That's the scary part.
Here's an attack for 4. See if this works out. Okay. So Nikolich is going to go down to 4 now. AJ Kerrigan does have Kolaghan's Command and Tarfire in hand, so he can do it.
He only has 1 red mana, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Over the course of 2 turns, he could make this happen.
I like playing the Death Shadow here, not the Tarmogoyf. And then, you know, depending on what Nikolich does, just go EOT, Dome you for 2, get back Tarmogoyf. Next turn, he gets to go declare attackers. If Nikolich has something like Cryptic Command, he has to burn that to tap the attackers.
Finish him off with a
Finish him
Tarfire.
off with a Tarfire once he's tapped out. That would be my plan.
I think that's a pretty good line. You do get the opportunity to deploy a little something extra here. We're going to see if that's AJ Kerrigan's plan, however.
I've played quite a bit of Death Shadow. Not a ton with this version of the deck. There are a lot of different ways you can take games like this. You know, you can play the longevity route.
Oh, no! Okay.
Well,
Bolt's going to take care of Liliana.
sure.
Wasn't sure if Bolt was going to go upstairs or not. Nikolich has drawn a copy of Hallowed Fountain. He's at 2 now. That's not good.
No, it is not.
2 is not a lot of life.
Kill you?
I'm certainly going to try.
Question mark?
Yeah.
Untap. Kill you again? Question mark?
Kolaghan's Command you.
Try to kill you again? Question mark?
Well.
Can't quite see what all is in Nikolich's hand. I'm pretty sure he's dead, though.
I don't know if there's enough to stop all of this. He's going to play a Snapcaster Mage. This will be a logic not to counter that. That gives him a blocker, which is all well and good. But I think AJ is going to untap and show him a Tarfire in just a bit here. And that'll probably take us home. As you see, Nikolich is going to resolve the delve from Logic Not, countering the Kolaghan's Command.
Infraction. Infraction.
Game over. AJ Kerrigan going to win this match over Benjamin Nikolich. 2-0. 4-color Shadow is going to take care of Discard Control. The team of Sukenik, Kerrigan, and Stein, they're up 1-0 as we move over to Stein and Medrano. Blue-white control, white-black aggro.
Another thing I love about Twitch chat, Nikolich, 100% dead. Knows he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Gets a little sloppy. Doesn't exile the Logic Knot, you know?
Sure.
Twitch chat flies off the handle.
Got to keep it clean. Got to keep it clean, man.
He's dead.
Yeah.
It's fine.
We got updated life totals here. It's 24-8 in favor of Abe Stein. Take a look at this battlefield. I got a Karn on 7.
I got a headache.
Yeah, with a cast out underneath it.
How do we come into this?
Oh,
messy
you get used to it. Here's a Gideon attacking. Heart of Kieran out there. It looks like Gideon's going to die. It looks like we have a player with the city's blessing.
Cool. So you have Arch of Oreskes? Arch of Oreska?
That's how you say it.
I don't know. I'm not fluent in nerd.
There are 2 in his deck.
It's a good card. I think that may be how he has the city's blessing.
All right, so a Plains for Toolcraft Exemplar. And accrue the Heart of Kieran.
Yeah, not attacking with the Gideon this turn, trying to play around Settle the Wreckage. Also trying to play around Torrential Gearhulk.
Cards you always have to be worried about when you're playing against blue-white control. They have so many different ways to go about getting you.
Yep. You know, it can be enticing to go for lethal in certain spots, you know.
Looks like Medrano is going to activate the Arch. Actually, I can start with a Field of Ruin, but we'll take a look at the Arch of Orzhaka anyway. Or Orazka, excuse me.
Yeah. See?
Harder than I thought.
Yeah, you talking smack. Oh, that's probably right.
Look,
How many times you mispronounced it in the last 30 seconds?
I don't know. Orazka.
Just called
We got the City's Blessing, 5-mana tap draw card. It's an expensive way to go about drawing a card, but it is a land that draws a card, so it's not, not a big deal.
It even enters the battlefield untapped, which is great.
It's not bad.
The downside is very small.
Medrano is going to untap here.
That's the thing about being from the South. You can mispronounce things all you want. You just have to say it in a very thick Southern accent. And then people are just like, it's probably fine.
It's probably totally right.
It's right. Yeah.
Gonna head over to Abraham Stein now.
Who Abraham?
We got ourselves another Karn activation. If near Deadlands, excuse me. And Concealed Courtyard are the reveals. Courtyard will go to the grip.
The one thing I don't like about Karn, and it's one thing.
Yeah.
There's no ultimate.
Yeah.
He's a pacifist or whatever, I guess, so he doesn't want to blow up the world.
Like, he doesn't get super angry.
Yeah. Cool as a cucumber all the time.
His toys beat you up, not him. As Abraham Stein is going to win game number 2 here over Adonis Medrano. White-black aggro, blue-white control. Our most played decks here, day number 2 of competition and standard, are going to get ready for a third and final one. We'll keep our attention here, but first, a few messages from our sponsors. Let's get ready for a third and final one, shall we? As Abraham Stein and Adonis Medrano are going to play a 30 in Standard here. It's white-black aggro against blue-white control. Our most played decks in Standard of day number 2 of competition. White-black aggro, you've got 7 copies of. Blue-white control in Standard, you've got 4 copies of. Benjamin Nikolich going to be a observer here of Adonis. AJ Kerrigan will help out Abraham Stein, while Sukenik and Purcell continue battling in Legacy up top.
One kind of strange aspect of a team tournament is that once, so like, let's say Nikolich is done with his match, right? If he thinks, you know, he is a better control pilot than Adonis, and Adonis agrees, they basically have the option to just let Nikolich play the match while Adonis holds the cards.
Yes.
I did that last weekend with my buddy Will Cruz in Legacy.
Okay.
Because he had self-admittedly not played a ton of Legacy leading up to the event.
Okay.
He was playing Grixis Delver, and I had some amount of, you know, play with it.
Sure.
And he was playing against Miracles, which can be a difficult matchup at times. And I literally just told him everything to do, and every time he'd be like, "What about this?" I'm just like, "Just let me do it. just let me do it."
Point, click.
I have a plan. I don't want to tell you the plan because they will know the plan.
Yep. Yeah.
Let me do it.
Yeah. I got it. I promise.
We won very easily.
That's good. That's good. Hey, whatever it takes. Hashtag whatever it takes. Concealed Courtyard is land number 3 for Abe Stein. He missed his 3rd land drop for a little while there. His Heart of Kieran got negated. He's been given some beatdowns with Toolcraft Exemplar and Scrap Heap Scrounger, but this is that flashpoint, Todd. 4 mana.
Yeah, you know, 11 life. You don't have reach from the white-black aggro side, really. You missed a land drop, so there's no threat of, like, Karn as a post-combat play. I don't actually know what to do here. It's all circumstantial.
If you attack both those creatures and get hit by Settle the Wreckage, it's a nightmare. If you only attack with one of these creatures, they take it and cast Glimmer of Genius or
Hieroglyphic Illumination.
It's a nightmare.
Or just cast Out, and then you missed out on 3 damage.
Yep.
It's all bad.
What do you do if you're
Welcome
Abraham
to Standard.
Stein? That's true.
It's all bad.
Just Toolcraft Exemplar.
That's a fine attack, especially if he has a solid follow-up this turn. The problem is, if he does play another threat, Adonis has the ability to do what he's doing now, cast Glimmer of Genius, find land 5 and or Fumigate on the next turn.
The tough thing, too, though, is if he does have another threat and he's electing not to deploy it in fear of, you know, Fumigate or something like that, this is where a card like Lyra Dawnbringer comes down.
For sure.
You know?
And it would put up a gigantic roadblock. Abe would need something like land number 4 and cast out next turn to get through it.
And that's a problem. This is why Blue-White Control is one of the best decks in Standard and why it's a difficult deck to play against. And as Adonis looks like he may just be passing the turn back.
Looks like he has
with Nikolich.
the World's Fair. Pretty sure he had the option to cast Fumigate. Chose not to.
Not a great time for a Fumigate here on this battlefield, right?
Oh, absolutely not. The Scrap Heap Scrounger comes back immediately. You effectively just kill the
Toolcraft Exemplar,
and you gain 2 life.
Is he willing to attack with both this time? Looks like with the artifact trigger on the stack, we're going to see a cast out from Toolcraft Exemplar. Since Toolcraft Exemplar being large is a trigger in the attack step, so this will just be a hit for 1. Now it's going to fall down to 7. Is it Karn time?
I assume that it is, now that the shields are down. He had his 4th land. He was 100% going to attack with both creatures that turn in order to force Adonis' hand, and then that gives him the opening to resolve a Karn.
Well, let the carnage begin. And there's a construct.
Might have been a minor sequencing error from Abe. He absolutely wants to play the Karn, and he really wants it to resolve. If he casts it before attacks, he's able to make the construct to virtually guarantee that the veteran motorist actually has 3 power when it attacks.
The Toolcraft
Or
Exemplar.
Toolcraft Exemplar, excuse me. They were in the same deck for a very long time. But he lost out on basically 2 points of damage by not casting the Karn first. But if it had gotten countered, maybe he doesn't have enough, wind in his sails to take the rest of the game. Not necessarily a sequencing error, more so just the choice of sequencing put an emphasis on the Karn resolving.
Which is what it looks like he's done, because Karn is now on the battlefield, and it may have been the card that was instrumental to him winning game number 2. as we head back over to Abraham Stein. Stein with an active card, Toolcraft Exemplar, and a construct that is currently just a 1/1, but it could become a little bit bigger than that. You see Stein's hand. He does have another copy of Cast Out among the options there.
His hand's looking pretty good. I mean, whenever your hand is all spells, which it probably was, since he missed his third land drop and then his fourth land drop. You know, it's a lot of good stuff.
A couple of planes to reveal there off of Karn's Plus, so that's going to be easy enough. Stein will get one of those. The other will be exiled underneath the Scion of Urza.
Just mismatched basics on both sides, just driving me wild.
There's a monster. Is it time for Settle? No, it's time for Seal Away.
Now, we do have the option here, as we talked about yesterday. The Seal Away is a trigger that goes on the stack and says as long as it remains on the battlefield. If you cast out or destroy it, the creature maintains its attacking status.
Wow. That's an important interaction to know, because it's not removed from combat and then placed back in combat.
Correct.
It just never leaves. So it looks like 4 damage is going to be dealt. It's an important thing to know. Invoke the Divine, the spell there from Abraham Stein. There is Knight. It's going to be a 3-power creature.
Yep. As I missed yesterday, it pumping due to white cards on your side, not exactly traditional for those types of effects. You know, like they're the Punisher mechanics for your opponent playing white, for example. You know.
Invoke the Divine was the spell that was played on the Seal Away, so the Seal Away should actually be in the graveyard, not exiled.
Oh, sure.
That's something that we can clean up easy enough. And it looks like Knight is going to go to hand Doomfall. Not going to happen. Here's Cast Out.
This might be it. If Adonis doesn't have a negate here for the cast out, that's enough creatures on the battlefield to get lethal.
That's going to do it. Abraham Stein's going to win this match here over Adonis Medrano. 2-1. White-Black Aggro going to take care of Blue-White Control, and that means the team of Sukenik, Kerrigan, and Stein are going to win this match. Grixis Delver, 4-color Shadow, and White-Black Aggro take it down. The gentleman on the right are going to get it done. Impressive stuff.
Oh, for sure.